Welcome in to another new podcast from Coatings Pro Magazine. As always, I'm your host, Ben Dubose, news editor with the AMP Publications team. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome in Eric Nenninger, founding partner of 62Archer Inspection and Consulting. Eric, thanks for taking the time. How are you?
I'm doing well, Ben. How are you doing today?
Can't complain at all. For those who are not aware, Eric is the founding partner of 62Archer Inspection and Consulting. They're based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Nenninger has been in the industrial coatings field for close to 20 years. He's worked over that time with application companies, paint manufacturers, and inspection firms, got a broad knowledge of the industry. He's a NACE Level 3 coating inspector and a member of AMP, and he was the chairman of the local NACE chapter for many years. And we're bringing him on the podcast today to continue our member profile series in which we spotlight influential members of our association over the years to talk about their contributions to the industry, what they're doing now. And in the case of Eric, beyond just what he does for the association, he's also a member of this year's editorial advisory group for Coatings Pro Magazine. So we'll be talking about that as well. Eric, I think a good place to start, if you could, just walk us through your career in the industry. Again, I know you're a founding partner with 62Archer right now, but I know that's far from the only thing you've done over your 2 decades or so in the industry. For anyone who's not aware, just walk us through a little bit of your career history and what it is that led you to your role today.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Excited to be on the podcast and find another way to contribute to the industry with the editorial group. So appreciate that. But you don't always go into your college advisor and tell them that you want to be in the industrial coating world. But I had a little jump start starting as early as high school as a summer job. Worked for a large application company and was just working in the shop, rolling hoses and cleaning out blast pots and getting load lists ready, and occasionally would go out to projects and help clean up a job site after it was completed. So found out real quick that that's not what I wanted to do, but have a great respect and understanding for the guys and gals that do it every day. Because it's you're in the elements. It's not easy work. You're in dangerous situations as far as confined space or elevated situations. So definitely realized and understood that I enjoyed some of it, some of the aspects of it. The camaraderie of teamwork and having a good core group you work with, and then kind of got away from it, working other jobs through high school and subsequently college. And at the end of college, got a great offer to work for that company, and started out as a project manager, and then went to a regional manager. Found myself up in Chicago for some time, and then we had an opportunity to jump over to a coating manufacturer, and got to see that side of things. So kind of got to see really what goes into making a gallon of paint, and obviously selling the gallon of paint and then putting the gallon of paint on. Through those experiences, through the application side and the manufacturing side, kind of stumbled onto the inspection world, and found out, both good and bad, that the inspection firms play a pivotal role in the project timeline, efficiency, numerous other avenues as well. But decided to go off and develop that company. So been able to see the industry from numerous different lenses and angles, and which I think's helped me not only understand all sides of a project, but also learning lessons to complete those projects in a timely manner. So as you mentioned, through those years and through those I guess journeys, you could say, have really enjoyed working with what used to be SSPC, and NACE, and now subsequently AMP. And through those times, volunteered, as you mentioned, as a trustee. But prior to that, all the little steps along the way as membership chair and other areas. So you also mentioned the certifications. I think it's vital for everybody in the industry, no matter what level you're on or what your role is within the industry, to get that extra education and understanding of the different backgrounds, because as most could imagine, with AMP being NACE and SSPC, formerly as those companies, it's there's many sides of it. You have the chemistry of the coding, and then you have the equipment side of it, and all those things. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. It's been a fun ride for sure, and look forward to the future.
So tell us a little bit about 62 Archer Inspection and Consulting and the types of projects you're involved in today. Just walk us through the formation of that. I know you touched on it already, and then some specifics as far as the types of projects that are in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So 62 Archer is, we try to be a turnkey approach for our clients. Our clients range from the private and public sectors, range from water and wastewater, to bridges, lock and dams, some fueling facilities in the oil and gas sector, as well as we also try to do a little bit in the commercial side of things. So I alluded to a little bit earlier that the evolution of the industry, 15 years ago, I would never look at a commercial building and think that inspection was needed on those. But you get the owner gets burnt once or twice by poor quality, and they learn the hard way, and then that opens the door for companies like ours to give our advice, give our recommendations. So we truly try to work in all the sectors of the industrial coating world. We are nationwide. Last year we were in 30-something states. Last few years we've been in 30-something states. So we've been very blessed and worked really hard to get to that point. But as you know, and most people listening, or most people working in the industry, they understand that you have to be nimble. You have to be able to evolve. You have to be able to work in other sectors and other regions, because there's just not that many water towers in some areas or bridges in other areas. So we really try to cover all our bases. In saying that, I think it's also very vital and important to understand your lane, if you will, your area of expertise, and try to stay in there, so that you can give your clients the best service, as well as being very open with them and letting them know, this is what I'm really good at. These are the areas that we're not so good in, because it's just not our area, but we'll help you find those answers and find those resources.
So you've been doing this a while, and you talked about your transition earlier. Just looking holistically at the industry as a whole over those 2 decades, what are some of the things that are going on in the market now when you're going out as an inspector and you're obviously encountering some frequent pitfalls or question marks, whatever it may be, from applicators out in the field? What's different, if at all, in 2023 relative to 10, 20 years ago when you were first getting started? What are some of the new challenges that you're really seeing in the 2020s that may not have been quite as prevalent when you first started in this field a while back?
Well, that's a great excuse me. That's a great question. It's funny because in our industry, there's some things that never change, like a 6-bag pot or an 8-ton pot
Right.
will always be there. They haven't really revolutionized too many things. in some facets of the industry, whereas I think the biggest thing that's changed over the years is the use of technology, drones and ROVs and documentation side of things with iPads and that sort of thing. So I'd say the biggest change has been the evolution of technology and how it relates to the industry. It's making things much more streamlined. It's making things much more efficient. There's some great programs out there that we utilize to help us, achieve those goals. But as far as the challenges, the technology can be challenging at times for some of the individuals or team members for both our team as well as other teams, staying up on that and utilizing those tools in the best manner. Because like anything, the first day you get your iPhone or your Samsung Droid or wherever it might be, if you're switching from one to the other, that can be a challenge. That can be intimidating. So kind of walking the team members through those, myself included, those hurdles and really understanding what the ultimate goal is somewhat of a hurdle. It's definitely achievable, but I think the technology side has really opened eyes. Then I would say the other factor of it is always, you're always trying to ensure the client's able to use and understand the industry at its best. And what I mean by that is most of the time, especially when you're dealing with smaller municipalities or you're dealing with commercial or private sector, they might not have the staff and the means and methods to understand how to get to their goal. So the goal is, we'll use an example of a water tower. Sometimes the individual that's quote unquote in charge of that water tower might also be in charge of, mowing the grass or clearing the snow in the winter or what have you. They say we want our tower to be painted. A lot of times they might not know how to get to that goal. So the education and teaching and I guess shining a light on the difference between the coatings and the difference between the application is vital. So, educating the consumer and educating the client, I think will always be not an issue, but also you could call it another hurdle.
So let's talk about your history with the associations. You touched on that earlier. What are your personal certifications and how have those helped you over the years when it comes to your career development? For example, in your current role as an inspector, obviously there's certain certs that you have to make you qualified for a given project. Just explain to me what those are and how those have helped you over the years.
Yeah. So I was very blessed by my, by my first employer, that he was very adamant and very and promoted SSPC on a very high level, and always encouraged everyone, and quite frankly paid for everyone to get their certifications. At the time, we said, sure, let's sign up. Let's get this extra education. And because of that, we were able to not only understand the requirements of certain specifications, but also how to get to those requirements, both more economically and more efficiently. An example would be we knew at a young age or early in the career that we had to paint the bridge. We might not have understood to the full extent of when they talk about an SP6, what truly is an SP6. So understanding those requirements and the standards, you were able to not only instruct your team in a better manner, but also understand what the inspector at those times was looking for. So having my NACE Level 3 for many years now, having the SSPC's PCI when it first came out, having the C3s and the C5s and all the other safety requirements as well. You really got to see it and understand it a little bit better when you go through those classes. And AMP obviously does a great job with those, and teaching those are vital to the industry, and I think it's very important for the newer people coming through, as well as maybe the more tenured staff that haven't had those. It really truly helps. I mean, even down breaking down the different areas of a company, most of the time, you'll have your accounts payable, accounts receivable, or even your safety division. It even helps those different roles and responsibilities within the company to understand not only what the guys and girls in the field are working towards, so they have a better understanding whenever they might be coming in and discussing it internally. So I think understanding those areas, understanding what is needed and required is very helpful. So like I said, from the beginning of getting those certifications early on in my career has definitely helped me evolve within the industry.
So prior to AMP, what was your history with NACE and or SSPC? I know I was reading your EAG bio with Coatings Pro editorial advisory group, that is, and we talked about you leading one of your local NACE chapters. What have those associations meant to you over the years? And spinning it forward to today, what are the ways in which you're engaging with AMP right now?
So I was I kind of fell into those roles more of what can I do, what can I see, what can I be a part of to help the industry,
Right.
and because of that, I said, well, what can I do to be involved more? What can I do to not only talk about the positives, but also talk about the negatives, and understanding those negatives to the fact of it's easy to complain and easy to bring up something that might not be the best, but how do we make that better? So by taking those different roles within NACE at the local chapter level, we were able to talk to not only our team, but competitors, and really try to bring to the forefront some of the things that could make the industry and different chapters within the industry better. So like you said, I started out on the NACE side. It's been a while, so I'm trying to remember, but I believe it was just the membership chair in the beginning. So let's go out and find new speakers for our monthly meetings. Let's go find out new topics that might entice more people to come, get more involved, and then worked my way all the way up to trustee. By doing so, we were able to also speak to other chapter trustees at the annual meetings and discuss things that they faced, things that we faced. We're able to discuss those things and help promote not only the local chapter, but NACE as a global foundation as well. So obviously, I think most people would agree that the chapters, at least in our region, was more NACE heavy than it was SSPC. Not to say SSPC wasn't strong in our region, but it was it didn't have the local chapter as the NACE did at the time. So because of that, I think I just fell into the NACE side of it a little bit more. Obviously, the SSPC was more of a contractor driven side of things, and then the NACE was more the individual driven. side of things. So it was always kind of comparing apples to oranges, but ultimately it came down to the industrial painting. So there was very common ground in that sense. So yeah, it was a fun time, and really enjoyed doing it. Then obviously hung those boots up, if you will, and other people
Hmm.
stepped in and are doing a great job still to this day. Currently, other than some other smaller committees, it's been a little bit since I have been as involved. But still, from afar, I'm always happy to give my 2 cents and give my recommendations of pros and cons. So now it's exciting to get back into another role, this time with the editorial group, to spotlight, the projects that have gone well, maybe some learning lessons from projects that might not have gone as well as they could have gone.
Hmm.
So it's definitely exciting to get back in it and see what's going on within the industry.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Why is the EAG such a good use of time for someone like yourself? Because obviously you've got your day job, you've got plenty of travel, you've got plenty of networking that accompanies it as well. Why do you want to go the extra mile and engage with Coatings Pro and our audience? Why is that something that really matters to you?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is to um, shine the light on areas that are that should be, I guess, spotlighted. Um, there's a lot of awesome, cool projects that a lot of people don't get to see on an everyday basis. It's fun to see challenging projects, and how companies are able to overcome those challenges, and utilize the tools within the industry to make those projects run smoothly. And I feel like the editorial group has the ability to reach out to different, not only regions and areas, but also different parts of the industry. Offshore is completely different than pipeline, which is completely different than transportation, which is completely different than water and wastewater. So everybody kind of has their expertise, and it's always fun to see the new trends and the new equipment and the new technology for the coatings within those different sectors of the industry, and bring those to attention of other people, because most of the time, whenever those are spotlighted, you're able to utilize those in future projects and future endeavors to not only help your company, but also help the industry, as well as your clients ultimately. So it's just a good way, in my opinion, to showcase the new and upcoming projects, the new and upcoming technologies, and how to utilize those in the best manner.
So we're now in our third year of the NACE SSPC merger. You referenced that a couple of times already. How do you think that's going? What are your views on the integration process, and what opportunities are there now that you've combined these two legacy groups?
Well, it's like with anything, any merger, they're always going to have their ups and downs. I personally think that because the industry recognizes that the merger was most likely needed in numerous ways. Now it's just a matter of ironing out the kinks. So it's the little things sometimes that probably could be streamlined a little bit better, such as behind the scenes operations, as far as your certifications, or duplicates of some of the standards. It's good to see that they're starting to be um, under one umbrella, if you will. So
Mhm.
personally, I always thought it's better to get all the minds in one room at one time if possible. And because of the merger, I feel like that's much more achievable. I think most people would agree that in years past, if you went to the SSPC conference and you went to the NACE conference, you're going to see quite a bit of different faces at each one. Now, there will be the overlap, obviously, but it's nice to see the end user, the contractor, if you will, the applicator, is in the same conference now as the chemists that are developing the new coatings or the new equipment. And anytime you're able to have both sides together, I think that's positive. You can look at it from with any large corporation. If the blue collars are talking to the white collars, you can hear the struggles that each side has, and then you might be able to understand why the struggles are there, and then ultimately try to fix those. So I think it's very positive. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think if there's more involvement and there's more positive feedback and subsequently review of the feedback to the point where you can really change some things, then ultimately I think that there's great possibilities there. So do I think it's great? I do. Do I think that there's things that can be better? Absolutely. But I think they've come a long way and over a short period of time. So it's exciting to see what the future is going to hold within that merger.
So for people that are relatively new to the industry and in your shoes from a decade or two ago, what's your advice to them? What opportunities should they be looking at both at an association level and beyond? Maybe it's simply within their own company or the jobs they're applying for. Basically, what advice would you give someone new to the industry as they're starting out their career?
I'd say the best advice would be to challenge yourself with trying to find different certifications, different classes, different committees, different areas that you might not be as either comfortable with or knowledgeable about, and really try to, every year, every other year, set your personal goal and challenge yourself to get out your comfort zone and learn those areas and understand those areas, because you're only going to benefit yourself and ultimately your firm, your company you're dealing with, whatever it may be. And then I know everybody's slammed these days and everybody's got a ton of work, but volunteer as much as you can. Maybe if you're learning a new part of the industry every other year, well, then the years that you're not learning those new areas, maybe you're volunteering in some capacity, because anytime that you're able to do that, you're also learning, but you're also helping other people learn some of the things that you face. So to answer the question in the simplest form would just be to get a better understanding of what you're doing and areas you might not be doing too much in, and then the volunteering part.
I think that's great advice from Eric Nenninger, founding partner of 62 Archer Inspection and Consulting. Eric, for anyone who wants to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, what's the best way that they can do that?
Most of the time, text message, phone call, email. We're revising and updating our website currently, so it's under construction again, and we do that just to try to stay up with the times and try to stay up with our clients' needs. But yeah, I'd say text message or phone call would probably be the best. Yeah, I'm always there to help, and always happy to give back as much as I can.
Sounds good. Folks, this is where we will wrap it for today. For Eric Nenninger, I'm Ben Dubose. If you want more resources from us at Coatings Pro, you can go to the website at coatingspromag.com, or you can check out amp.org, ampp.org, for news from the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. With that, we'll put a bow on this. Absolutely. With that, we'll put a bow on this episode. For Eric, I'm Ben. Thanks as always for listening, and please come back soon for another new Coatings Pro podcast.